Hey YouTube, JoeBoy here. Alright, let's talk about One Piece chapter 906. So in this chapter we got to see the royalty arrive in Mary Geoise and actually see what it looks like as well as how it's spelled. And I think that Mary Geoise definitely lived up to my expectations. I'm curious about these statues which lead up the pathway to the main area. We get to see 10 of them. I really wonder if they are statues of the original Celestial Dragons, the people who founded the world government. But I'm not really sure. They're dressed in an intriguing way. Somebody on Twitter told me or pointed out to me that they actually look very similar to how Dragon has appeared in the past. There might be something there. But anyway, as we will recall, because it was only one chapter ago that we last saw them, the Revolutionary Army is planning an infiltration into Mary Geoise. We got to see Sabo was actually on the same ship as Shirahoshi and the rest of them, but in this chapter we can still see Sabo. He's still there. He was the one who handed Shirahoshi the cane which controlled the Travelator. But as far as Karasu or Morley or Bello Betty or even the hints that Dragon is on his way, we don't really get anything as far as what they are doing at this moment. Now I'm not exactly sure how Bello Betty or Karasu or Dragon would be able to hide, but Morley has incredibly useful powers in this scenario. It was already sort of implied that he was climbing through the red line, so Morley very easily could be underground right now. And this happens to be mildly interesting to me because we basically know at this point in time, based on the end of the chapter with the reveal of the hat, as well as at the beginning of the chapter with the reveal of the slaves controlling the Travelator, there's like an underground world that is unseen in Mary Geoise. It looks very nice on the surface, but inside it is rotten. For some reason or another, they do feel the need to at least in part hide their secrets. And if you have the Revolutionary Army arriving, those secrets may not stay hidden for very long. And if you're looking for a way to free slaves which might be underground, Morley would have that capability. There's still a huge question about what exactly the Revolutionary Army intends on achieving when they arrive here in Mary Geoise, and something like freeing slaves makes a lot of sense to me, as a declaration of war, as well as a blow to the reputation of the Celestial Dragons, if they can somehow get this news reported. And we know that this is possible because we see Big News Morgans in the chapter. And even if it's not reported worldwide, having many of the constituent nations of the world government become aware, if they are not already, about how sinister these Celestial Dragons are could be important. This is who we have allied ourselves with. This is who we serve under. But yeah, speaking of sinister Celestial Dragons, we speculated this for many years before the Reverie, and it is the case. Oda has ensured that this will become some kind of plot point. We see Charlos peeking in on the giant, beautiful mermaid Shirahoshi, and of course, he wants her. I'm actually really excited about the way that Oda portrayed this. He basically, it gave the impression that it's not a big deal, right? That this is fully what we should have expected from the very beginning. This is not a plot twist. Some Celestial Dragons, such as Charlos, seeing a giant, beautiful mermaid, he's going to want him, that's just what it is. That's not where the actual drama lies. That's not, if Oda's trying to hide anything, it isn't this. Which means he could be trying to hide something even greater than this. So I'm going to be honest with you, I do expect Charlos to try and kidnap Shirahoshi, but I really don't feel as though, at this point in time, I really don't feel as though he's going to be successful, or the action of trying to kidnap Shirahoshi, maybe he doesn't even get to the point to where the fishmen become aware of the plot itself. Honestly, I can imagine the Revolutionary Armies coming in just in time, without meaning to, saving Shirahoshi from Charlos, and potentially even saving the relationship between the world government and the fishmen for now. But obviously, if Charlos attempts to kidnap Shirahoshi, then the negotiations to try to get the fishmen onto the surface will undoubtedly fail. The fishmen themselves will be incredibly mad if they are not just straight captured and put into slavery, and that would obviously begin the motion of a finale for the fishmen and Celestial Dragons story. But again, guys, we cannot forget that there are people within the world of One Piece who know that Shirahoshi is Poseidon, and those people are not Charlos. So for Shirahoshi to be captured by Charlos kind of leaves out this important detail which Oda has incorporated in the story as some kind of foreshadowing. It'll come back in one form or another at one time or another. But moving on to the main gathering of the Reverie, we learn two important things. The first of which is that the Reverie is supposed to take place over the span of 7 days, which means that theoretically the Reverie could finish by the time that we are done with Wano, because 7 days is a long time in the story of One Piece. Also, it's stated that the weapons have been confiscated. These two things could definitely be vital. Essentially, much of the royalty that is present in the Reverie, they can't really defend themselves, or it doesn't appear as though they have the ability to defend themselves, although Oda could go in a completely different direction, and maybe they have just overpowered hand-to-hand combat. But yeah, this being a 7-day event means that the Revolutionary Army has 7 days to launch their attack, when we would assume that the Reverie would conclude. We also see at the very beginning several people attempt to propose to Shirahoshi, but Shirahoshi basically says, yo, you're not my type. And what this creates as a possibility is the fishmen making enemies with certain other royalty that are present within the Reverie. I'm not exactly sure what major role this could play, but it certainly could play some kind of factor. This was a really feel-good chapter, right? We got to meet everybody who previously had established connections with the Strats. It felt really positive overall, but that isn't, I don't think, representative of what our take should be for the vast majority of the royalty, who I think will probably be scum, honestly. But yeah, speaking of the Strat Luffy love in this chapter, I don't know about you guys, but that was one, well, I think that was my second favorite thing from the chapter itself. Just hearing everybody talk about Luffy, how much they liked him, like, talk about him in sort of third person, like how great he is. I like it, I like it. But along with our concerns about the potential relationship between the fishmen and the other royalty that don't have previously established connections with the Strats, we should also worry about the people with connections with the Strats inadvertently revealing their connections to him. That was an overwhelming fear that I derived from this chapter. Leo was so open about being a pirate and being part of the Strat Grand Fleet along with Sai. You see them talk openly about how much they like a pirate. That's not something that they should be talking about, honestly. I'm getting the real impression that the allies of the Strats, including the fishmen and everybody else, by the end of the Reverie, they're not going to be friends, obviously. And in fact, it could lead to bad places. And of course, you have the constant reiteration of the imminent demise of Cobra Nefertari, which I think would probably play some kind of role in that. But yeah, a large portion of this chapter was dedicated to recap, as well as reestablishing the characters that are participating in the Reverie and their relationship with each other, developing bonds of some kind. So this was mainly a purely set-up chapter, minus perhaps the end. And we made a theory specifically talking about the end of the chapter, but I want to point out several other things about this that I did not make clear in my theory video. Firstly, Doflamingo is worried, or I guess worried isn't the right word. He expects to be assassinated for what he knows, and is apparently being protected by Magellan. I do not expect Doflamingo to die, be assassinated while he's in prison. Like, theoretically, of course, it is possible, but I think that that would be such a waste of Doflamingo's character. I think the whole reason that Oda sort of has painted the picture in this way is if Oda wanted to kill Doflamingo, right, he didn't have to have Magellan protect him. He could just have the assassin show up and then Doflamingo dies. The idea that Magellan is protecting him is going to be important because it justifies Doflamingo staying alive despite being captured. This scene actually potentially allows Oda to write himself out of a plot hole. He's previously established that Doflamingo knows about the National Treasure, and also that he got captured. So then, logically speaking, with the knowledge that he possesses and the world government's attempt to kill him for many years being unsuccessful, obviously the world government would kill him now. Like, Doflamingo can't stop it, he can't run away. But I get the impression that Oda does not want to kill Doflamingo, so he's rationalizing his survival. But on to the last thing that Doflamingo said. In my theory video, I talked about how his line about power degrades quickly perhaps relates to the power of the Straw Hat, the giant Straw Hat that we see at the end of the chapter. And that is definitely possible. However, another interpretation that I should have mentioned, that I'll mention here instead, is that he could just simply be talking about the Celestial Dragons and the world government itself. That by revealing the secret, they would be undoing themselves. So Doflamingo says in the official translated version, just let the secret out already. Power has such a short shelf life. Reveal the secret so that we can bring this current age to an end. It's going to end eventually regardless. But yeah, the end of this chapter, guys. So I'm going to be honest with you. This is so open-ended. There's so many possible interpretations that I don't feel overly confident about my or anybody's speculations, because this is one of those things that I just see as Oda. He's going to surpass us. Whatever we speculate, he's going to read all the theories and he's going to find another way. That being said, I think that this large figure is female. A lot of people have said that he's female. He goes clack clack as he walks up the stairs, or she walks up the stairs. I believe that it is female. I do not believe that it is Luffy's mother, but it is some kind of female. I also believe that this is a celestial dragon, but like a leader of the celestial dragons. That's my own personal theory. It could be a lot of people. It could be like Guardian of the Vault, or an alien from space, right? It could be a lot of things, but I think that there is a subsection of these celestial dragons who actually have all the power. People like Sharlos are fodder celestial dragons who do not matter. They are inept, but they have actual leaders, and these are the actual leaders of the world, not the Gorosei, who are not even celestial dragons. We know that these celestial dragons mobilize CP0 and actually command them. People like Sharlos obviously do not do that, but I think that the celestial dragons who do would be on a higher tier entirely, and I'm wondering if this person isn't a part of that higher tier of celestial dragon. I've said this in a theory in the past, and so this is just a character. We don't know where they are, so I'm applying that theory to this character. But we see that they are holding two bounty posters. The second bounty poster is interesting because it is not shown. It's like Oda wants to say something, like he wants to say that there's another person of relevance, but doesn't exactly want to say who it is. And so it could be a lot of people. It could be Shanks, could be Roger, could be Trafalgar Law, it could be Straightforward, it could be Sanji, or another member of the Strats, or somebody we have never met before. It's definitely possible. My personal belief is that this second bounty poster belongs to Roger. And what essentially is going on is this person, this Celestial Dragon, or whatever you want to call them, is sort of connecting Luffy's hat to Roger's hat. Roger being the king of the pirates, to this hat which they are protecting in the vault, which is presumed to be at least part of the national treasure. It has to have some kind of significance or some kind of power. So they're connecting. I don't think that previously they saw Luffy's straw hat as anything other than a straw hat. But with maybe now they're beginning to wonder whether or not it's a hat of power per se, or a hat with history. And so another thing that I want to point out before I end this video is something I overlooked in my last video, is that this hat seems to be within an altar, but it is not the only altar. There are, by my count, 7 others. However, this hat is the only altar that is lit up, so this could have many meanings. It could mean that it is only one part of 7 for the national treasure of Mary Joie. Being lit up and the other ones darked out, it could be the most important part. There's also the possibility that this is the only part of the national treasure which the government has obtained, which means that they intend to obtain the 6 other parts, which maybe could be part of the One Piece. There's lots of questions here. But yeah, guys, this is the kind of chapter that really re-inspires my excitement for speculating on the mysteries of the Void Century. I love getting new things. I like creating theories, filling up the middle ground of what we don't know in the story with something to believe in, and then having Oda surprise us with additional interesting information. That's really what I got from this chapter. This is by far a 10 out of 10 chapter. It isn't even debatable. But yeah, as always, I'm curious as to what you guys think about this chapter, whether you notice anything from this chapter that I might have missed. Just share your thoughts. Like the video if you liked the video, dislike the video if you disliked the video. Make sure to subscribe if you want to be notified for my future content. And as always, guys, have a wonderful day.